I was 17 years old when my mother put me in an Uber and told the driver to drop me at the mall. She handed me $20 and said, "Maybe this will teach you to appreciate what you have." She thought I'd come crawling back in a few hours, humiliated and obedient. But 2 weeks later, when I came back, I was driving a Tesla. And when they saw how much money I'd made, they begged me to stay. But it was too late. My name is Dakota Chen, and this is the story of how abandonment became my greatest opportunity. It was a Friday afternoon in Seattle. Rain was pouring down, typical for October. I was in my room, working on my laptop, finishing a graphic design project for a client in Austin, Texas. The project would pay me $500, money I desperately needed for my secret savings account. My mother, Vanessa, burst into my room without knocking. Her face was red, her eyes blazing with anger. "You're still on that damn computer? I told you to clean the kitchen 3 hours ago." I had cleaned the kitchen. Right after school, just like she'd asked. But my younger brother Ethan had made himself an after-school snack and left a complete disaster. Dishes piled in the sink. Crumbs scattered across the counter. An open jar of peanut butter with the knife still in it. Spilled juice on the floor. But of course, I was the one getting blamed. I was always the one getting blamed. "I did clean it, Mom," I said calmly, not looking up from my screen. "Ethan made a mess after I finished. Don't you dare blame your brother," Vanessa shouted, her voice shrill. "Ethan was at soccer practice all afternoon. This is your mess and you're too lazy to clean it up." Ethan wasn't at soccer practice. He was in his room right now, playing Fortnite with his headphones on. I could hear the gunfire sounds through the wall. But there was no point arguing. In the Chen household, Ethan could do no wrong. Golden child. Star athlete. Perfect son. And I could do nothing right. Disappointment. Waste of space. Burden. "I'll clean it again," I said quietly, trying to keep the peace. "You're damn right you will," Vanessa said. "I'm so sick of your attitude, Dakota. So sick of your laziness. All you do is sit on that computer playing games while the rest of us work our asses off." "I'm not playing games," I said, finally looking up at her. "I'm working. I'm doing a design project for a client who's paying me $500. "Working?" Vanessa laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "You call that working? You're 17 years old. You don't have a real job. You don't contribute anything to this family. You just sit in your room wasting time on that computer, pretending you're doing something important." I did have a job. Multiple jobs, actually. I'd been doing freelance graphic design, web design, logo creation, and digital marketing for 2 years. I'd made over $15,000. But my parents didn't know that. They'd never bothered to ask what I was actually doing on my computer. They just assumed I was wasting time on social media or playing games. They never saw me. Never really looked. "You know what?" Vanessa said, her voice turning cold and dangerous. "I'm done. I'm done with your attitude. I'm done with your excuses. I'm done with you thinking you're so special. You think you're so smart? You think you can take care of yourself? Then prove it." She pulled out her phone and opened the Uber app with sharp, angry movements. "What are you doing?" I asked, my heart starting to race. "I'm calling you an Uber," Vanessa said, her fingers flying across the screen. "You're going to the mall. You're going to spend the rest of the day there. And you're going to think long and hard about what it means to be part of this family. When you're ready to come back and be a decent, respectful daughter, you can call me and apologize." "You're kicking me out," I said, disbelief flooding through my chest. "Over a kitchen that I already cleaned?" "I'm teaching you a lesson," Vanessa said. "A lesson you clearly need. Greg, come here." My stepfather, Greg, appeared in the doorway. He was a tall, thin man with thinning hair and weak eyes. He never stood up to Vanessa, never defended me, never did anything except agree with whatever she said. He'd married my mother when I was 12, and he'd been a non-presence in my life ever since. "Take Dakota downstairs," Vanessa ordered. "There's an Uber coming in 3 minutes. Make sure she gets in it." "Vanessa, are you sure about this?" Greg said weakly, not meeting my eyes. "She's 17. It's raining. Maybe we should just—" "Did I ask for your opinion?" Vanessa snapped. "Do what I said. Now." Greg looked at me with something that might have been pity, but he didn't help me. He never helped me. "Come on, Dakota," he said quietly. "Let's go." I stood up slowly, my mind racing. I grabbed my backpack, the one I always kept packed with essentials. My laptop, charger, external battery, important documents, a change of clothes. I'd learned to be prepared in this house. You never knew when you'd need to leave quickly. Vanessa followed us downstairs, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood. At the front door, she pulled a $20 bill from her wallet and shoved it into my hand. "This should be enough for you to get some food and think about your behavior," she said. "When you're ready to apologize sincerely and promise to do better, call me. Until then, figure it out yourself." The Uber pulled up outside. A silver Toyota Camry with raindrops streaming down the windows. Greg opened the front door and I stepped out into the rain. It was cold, soaking through my hoodie immediately. Greg walked me to the car and opened the back door. I got in, my hands shaking. The driver was a black man in his 40s with kind eyes and a concerned expression. He had a small photo of a teenage girl hanging from his rearview mirror. "Westlake Center Mall," Vanessa called from the doorway, her arms crossed. Then she looked at me through the rain-streaked window. "I hope you learned something today, Dakota. I really do. Maybe this will finally teach you some respect and gratitude." The driver pulled away from the curb. I watched my house disappear behind us, getting smaller and smaller until it was gone. I felt tears starting to form, hot and angry behind my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wasn't going to cry. Not now. Not ever. Not for them. "You okay back there, sweetheart?" the driver asked gently, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. I didn't answer. My throat was too tight. "I'm Marcus," he said. "And I've been driving Uber for 5 years now. I've seen a lot of things. A lot of situations. And what I just saw back there, that wasn't right. That wasn't okay." "It's fine," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's not fine," Marcus said firmly. "Your mama just kicked you out in the rain. A 17-year-old girl. That's not fine. That's not teaching a lesson. That's cruelty." "She thinks she's teaching me responsibility," I said. "The only thing she's teaching you is that she's a terrible parent," Marcus said. "Look, I don't know your whole situation. I don't know what's going on in your family. But I know wrong when I see it. And that was wrong." We drove in silence for a moment, the rain drumming on the roof of the car. "I have a daughter about your age," Marcus said. "Her name's Keisha. She's 16. And if someone did to her what your mama just did to you, I'd lose my mind. If my baby girl needed help and I wasn't there, I'd want someone to step up for her." He reached into his console and pulled out a business card, handing it back to me through the gap in the seats. "Here. This has my name, my phone number, my email. If you need help, if you need someone to call, if you need a ride somewhere safe, you call me. Day or night. I mean that." "Thank you," I said, taking the card. My hands were still shaking. "I mean it," Marcus said, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "Where are you really going? Because I'm guessing the mall isn't where you actually want to be." "The public library," I said. "Next to the mall. Seattle Central Library." "Good choice," Marcus said, nodding approvingly. "Smart girl. You got a plan." "I'm working on one," I said. When we arrived at the library, Marcus pulled up to the entrance and turned around in his seat. "This ride's on me," he said. "Keep that $20. You're going to need it more than I need the fare." I can't let you do that, I said. You already did, Marcus said. Now go on. Get inside where it's dry. And remember what I said. You need help, you call me. Promise. I promise, I said. Good, Marcus said. You're going to be okay, Dakota. I can tell. You're stronger than you know. I got out of the car and watched Marcus drive away, his taillights disappearing into the rain. Then I turned and walked into the Seattle Central Library, water dripping from my clothes. I found a quiet corner on the 4th floor, in the technology section where almost no one ever went. I sat down at a table, opened my backpack, and pulled out my laptop. My hands had stopped shaking. My mind was clear. And I knew exactly what I needed to do. I wasn't a normal 17-year-old. I had skills. Real, valuable, marketable skills that I'd spent years developing in secret. When I was 13, I'd taught myself graphic design using free YouTube tutorials and pirated Adobe software. I'd spent hundreds of hours learning Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. By 14, I was taking online courses in web design, user experience, and digital marketing. By 15, I'd created accounts on freelance platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, and 99 Designs under the business name DK Creative Studio. My parents never knew. They never asked what I was doing on my computer for hours every day. They never showed any interest in my life at all. They just assumed I was wasting time on Instagram or watching YouTube videos. But I was building something. I was building a business. In 2 years, I'd completed over 250 projects. Logo designs for startups. Website mock-ups for small businesses. Social media graphics for influencers. Marketing materials for local companies. Branding packages for entrepreneurs. I charged low rates at first, just $5 or $10 per project, building my portfolio and reputation. But as my skills improved and my 5-star reviews accumulated, I raised my prices. $5 became $50. $50 became $100. $100 became $300. $300 became $500. I'd made over $15,000. Money I kept in a secret bank account I'd opened the day I turned 16, using my school ID and utility bill I'd intercepted from the mail. Money my parents knew absolutely nothing about. I'd been saving for college, for independence, for the day I could finally escape. I just didn't think that day would come so suddenly, so violently, in the rain on a Friday afternoon. In the library, I opened my laptop and logged into my freelance accounts. I had 3 active projects that needed to be completed by Monday. A logo design for a coffee roasting company in Austin. A website mock-up for a boutique yoga studio in Portland. A complete social media branding package for a fitness coach in Miami. I put on my headphones, opened Spotify to my focus playlist, and got to work. I worked for 8 hours straight, barely moving except to use the bathroom once. I was completely in the zone, in that flow state where time disappears and nothing exists except the work. The logo. The colors. The fonts. The layouts. The pixels. By 9 p.m., when the library announced it would be closing in 30 minutes, I'd finished all 3 projects and submitted them for client approval. $1,200 would be deposited into my account within 24 to 48 hours, as soon as the clients reviewed and accepted the work. I packed up my laptop and left the library. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet, reflecting the neon lights of downtown Seattle. I wasn't going home. I wasn't calling my mother to apologize. I was done with that house. Done with that family. Done with being treated like I was worthless when I absolutely knew, that I was worth something. I walked 4 blocks to a hostel I'd researched on my phone. The Green Tortoise Hostel. $28 per night for a bed in a shared room. I paid for 2 nights up front using my debit card, the one connected to my secret account. The woman at the front desk, a girl in her 20s with purple hair and multiple piercings, looked at me with concern. "You okay, honey? You look like you've had a rough day." "I'm fine," I said. "Just need a place to sleep." Well, you're safe here, she said. Rooms on the 3rd floor. Shared bathroom down the hall. There's a kitchen on the 1st floor if you want to cook anything. And if you need anything at all, come find me. My name's Riley. Thank you, I said. The room was small and basic. 6 bunk beds crammed into a space meant for maybe 4. Shared with other travelers, mostly people in their 20s backpacking through America. But it was clean and safe. And it was mine. I climbed into an empty top bunk and pulled out my phone. I had 23 missed calls from my mother. 15 text messages. I read through them, watching the tone shift from angry to worried to manipulative. Dakota, where are you? Dakota, it's been 4 hours. This isn't funny. Call me back. Dakota, you've made your point. Come home now. Dakota, if you don't call me back in the next hour, you're going to be in serious trouble. Dakota, I'm starting to worry. Please just let me know you're safe. Dakota, your stepfather and I are very concerned. If you don't respond by midnight, we're calling the police. I almost laughed at that last one. Now they were concerned. Now they cared. Where was this concern when they were calling me lazy and worthless? Where was this care when they put me in an Uber in the rain and told me to figure it out? I typed out a single response. I'm fine. I'm safe. I'm not coming home. Don't call the police. I'll contact you when I'm ready. I hit send. Then I blocked both their numbers. I didn't need their worry. I didn't need their fake concern. I didn't need their manipulation. I needed to focus on my work. On my future. On proving to myself that I could do this. I opened my laptop again and did something I'd been planning for months but never had the courage to execute. I created a professional website for my business. Not just a portfolio page. A full, comprehensive business website. DK Creative Studio. Professional. Polished. Impressive. Legitimate. I used my absolute best work in the portfolio section, the projects I was most proud of. I created clear service packages with transparent pricing. I wrote compelling copy about my design philosophy and approach. I set up a contact form and an online booking system. I even created a blog section with articles about design trends, branding strategies, and marketing tips, all written by me over the past year. Then I did something risky. Something that could either launch my business to the next level or completely drain my savings. I invested $2,000 into Facebook and Instagram advertising campaigns targeting small business owners, entrepreneurs, and startups in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. I created eye-catching ad graphics showcasing dramatic before and after examples of my work. Professional transformations. The headline read, Transform your brand in 48 hours. Professional design. Affordable prices. Fast turnaround. Book your free consultation today. I set the ads to run starting immediately, targeting people aged 25 to 55 who had shown interest in entrepreneurship, small business, marketing, and design. Then I closed my laptop, set an alarm for 6 a.m., and tried to sleep. I barely slept. My mind was racing with possibilities and fears. What if the ads didn't work? What if I just wasted $2,000? What if no one booked? What if I couldn't make enough money to survive? What if my mother was right and I really was worthless? But then I remembered Marcus's words. You're stronger than you know. And I remembered something else. Something I'd read once in a book about successful entrepreneurs. The moment you have nothing to lose is the moment you become dangerous. I had nothing to lose now. No home to go back to. No family supporting me. No safety net. Which meant I was free to take risks. Free to bet on myself. Free to become dangerous. I fell asleep around 2 a.m., my laptop still warm beside me. I woke up at 6 a.m. to the sound of my phone buzzing. Not a call. Notifications. Lots of notifications. I grabbed my phone and opened my email. My heart started pounding. Inquiry. 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 15 new inquiries from potential clients. In 6 hours. The ads were working. I jumped out of bed, startling the girl sleeping in the bunk below me, and opened my laptop. I logged into my business email and started reading through the inquiries. A coffee shop in Seattle needed a complete rebrand. Logo, menu design, signage, social media graphics. Budget, $2,000. A yoga studio in Portland needed a new website. Modern, clean, mobile responsive. Budget, $1,500. A tech startup in San Francisco needed marketing materials for an investor pitch. Presentation deck, one-pager, business cards. Budget, $1,200. A boutique clothing store in Tacoma needed social media content creation. Graphics, captions, posting schedule. Budget, $800 per month. Ongoing. A real estate agent in Bellevue needed a personal branding package. Logo, headshots editing, website, business cards. Budget, $1,800. And 10 more inquiries with similar budgets. I couldn't believe it. In one night, I generated over $15,000 in potential revenue. If I could close even half of these deals, I'd make more in 2 weeks than my mother made in 3 months at her administrative job. I spent the next 3 hours responding to every single inquiry. Professional. Enthusiastic. Confident. I offered free 15-minute consultation calls to discuss their needs. I sent them links to my portfolio. I explained my process and timeline. By 9 a.m., I had scheduled consultation calls with 12 of the 15 potential clients. By noon, I'd completed 8 of those calls. By 3 p.m., I'd sent proposals to all 8. By 6 p.m., I'd closed 5 deals. A coffee shop rebrand. A yoga studio website. A tech startup marketing package. A boutique social media management contract. A real estate agent branding package. Total value, $7,300. In one day. One single day. I was sitting in a Starbucks near the hostel when the 5th client accepted my proposal and sent the deposit. I stared at my laptop screen, at the notification that $1,500 had been deposited into my account. And I started crying. Not sad tears. Not scared tears. Tears of relief. Of validation. Of proof. Proof that I wasn't worthless. Proof that I had value. Proof that I could take care of myself. Proof that my mother was wrong about everything. I wiped my eyes and ordered myself a celebration. A venti caramel macchiato and a chocolate croissant. $12. I didn't care. I'd earned it. Over the next week, I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. I woke up at 5 a.m. every day. I worked until midnight. 18, 19-hour days. I was running on 4 hours of sleep, coffee, and pure adrenaline. But I was getting results. Incredible results. The 5 clients I'd booked all loved their projects. They left glowing 5-star reviews on my website and social media. They referred me to their friends and colleagues. They posted about me in their business networks. Within 3 days, I had 8 more inquiries. Within 5 days, I had 15 more. Within 1 week, I had booked 12 additional clients. I was making more money than I'd ever made. In 1 week, I earned $9,200. More than my mother made in 2 months. More than Greg made in 6 weeks. I was 17 years old and I was out earning both of my parents combined. But I wasn't satisfied yet. I wanted more. I wanted to make a statement. I wanted to go back home and show them exactly who I was. Exactly what I was capable of. Exactly how wrong they'd been. On day 9, I did something absolutely insane. Something reckless and bold and completely unlike the careful, cautious person I'd always been. I went to a Tesla dealership. I'd always loved Teslas. Ever since I was 14 and saw my first Model 3 driving through downtown Seattle. Sleek. Silent. Electric. Futuristic. Everything I wanted to be. Fast. Efficient. Powerful. Unstoppable. I walked into the Tesla showroom in my jeans and hoodie, my backpack slung over one shoulder. A salesman approached me, looking skeptical. He was in his 30s, wearing an expensive suit, with perfectly styled hair. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone suggesting he didn't think I could afford to be there. "I want to test drive a Model 3, I said confidently, meeting his eyes. "Do you have an appointment?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I have money." That got his attention. His eyebrows raised slightly. "How old are you?" 17, I said. "And how exactly are you planning to purchase a vehicle?" he asked, his skepticism returning. "I run a design business," I said. "I've made over $24,000 in the past 2 years. $9,000 in the past week alone. I can put down a significant deposit today and arrange financing for the rest." The salesman's expression changed. Skepticism became interest. "Let me talk to my manager," he said. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in the driver's seat of a pearl-white Tesla Model 3, the salesman in the passenger seat, driving through the streets of Seattle. It was the most incredible experience of my life. The acceleration was instant, pushing me back into the seat. The handling was precise, responsive to the slightest touch. The technology was intuitive, everything controlled through the massive center touchscreen. The silence was surreal, no engine noise, just the whisper of wind and tires. I was in love. Completely, utterly in love. "So," the salesman said, whose name I'd learned was Derek. "You said you run a design business. What kind of design?" "Graphic design, web design, branding, digital marketing," I said, navigating a turn smoothly. "I work with small businesses and startups. I've completed over 260 projects in 2 years." "That's impressive," Derek said. "Very impressive. Especially for someone your age. How did you learn all that?" "YouTube, online courses, practice," I said. "I taught myself everything. My parents thought I was wasting time on the computer. Turns out I was building a career. And they don't know about the business?" Derek asked. "They didn't," I said. "They do now. Sort of. It's complicated." When we got back to the dealership, Derek took me to his manager's office. They ran my credit, which was limited but clean. I'd been building credit for a year using a secured credit card that I paid off in full every month. They verified my bank account balance. They reviewed my business income statements. They made phone calls. And then, incredibly, they made me an offer. I couldn't purchase the car outright because I was 17 and couldn't legally sign a contract without a parent or guardian. But they could arrange a lease with a co-signer. The terms were reasonable. $15,000 down payment. $450 per month for 36 months. I could afford it. Easily. But I needed a co-signer. Someone over 18 who would guarantee the lease. I thought about who I could ask. And then I remembered. Marcus. The Uber driver who'd given me his card and told me to call if I needed help. I pulled out my phone and called him. Marcus answered on the second ring. "Hello, Marcus. It's Dakota. The girl whose mom kicked her out 9 days ago. You gave me your card." "Dakota, I've been thinking about you. Are you okay? Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm more than okay," I said. "I'm at a Tesla dealership. And I need a huge favor. I know it's a lot to ask, but I need someone to co-sign a car lease for me. I have the money. I have proof of income. I just need someone over 18 to sign the paperwork." There was a long pause. "You're at a Tesla dealership?" Marcus said slowly. "Yes," I said. "You made enough money in 9 days to lease a Tesla?" Marcus said. "Not just 9 days. I said. I've been running a freelance design business for 2 years. I've saved over $15,000. And in the past 9 days, I've made another $9,000. I can afford this. I just need a cosigner. Another pause. Then Marcus laughed. A deep, genuine, amazed laugh. You made $9,000 in 9 days? Yes, I said. Doing what? Graphic design, web design, branding, I said. I have over 20 clients right now. I'm booked solid for the next month. And your mama kicked you out thinking you were worthless, Marcus said. That's the most ironic thing I've ever heard. Will you help me? I asked. Where are you? Marcus said. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Marcus arrived at the dealership 45 minutes later. He was wearing his Uber driver clothes, jeans and a polo shirt. Derek greeted him professionally, and we all sat down in the office. I showed Marcus everything. My bank statements showing $24,000 in savings. My business income statements showing consistent revenue over 2 years. My client contracts and invoices from the past 9 days. My credit report showing perfect payment history. Marcus's eyes got wider and wider as he reviewed each document. You built all this, he said. By yourself? At 17. Yes, I said. This is incredible, Marcus said, shaking his head in disbelief. This is absolutely incredible. Your parents have no idea. They know I was doing something on the computer, I said. They just never cared enough to ask what. They assumed I was wasting time. They never imagined I was building a business. They're fools, Marcus said bluntly. Complete fools. Okay. I'll co-sign. But you're paying every single cent of this lease yourself. And if you miss a payment, even one, I'm taking the car. Understood. Understood, I said. And I won't miss a payment. I promise. I believe you, Marcus said. You're the most driven 17-year-old I've ever met. We signed the paperwork. It took 2 hours. Background checks. Credit verification. Insurance setup. Registration. But finally, it was done. I walked out of the Tesla dealership with keys in my hand. Keys to a pearl white Tesla Model 3. A $49,000 car that I'd earned myself. I stood in the parking lot, staring at the car, barely able to believe it was real. You did it, Marcus said, standing beside me. You really did it. I can't believe it, I said. Believe it, Marcus said. You earned this. Every bit of it. Now, what are you going to do? I'm going home, I said. I'm going to show them exactly who I am. Good, Marcus said. They need to see this. They need to see what they threw away. Thank you, I said, turning to face him. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for helping me. I'll never forget this. You don't need to thank me, Marcus said. You did all the hard work. I just signed a piece of paper. But Dakota, I want you to remember something. This car, this success, this money, none of it defines your worth. You were valuable before you made a single dollar. You were worthy before you leased this car. Your worth comes from who you are, not what you have. Don't ever forget that. I won't, I said. Good, Marcus said. Now go show your mama what she lost. I got in the Tesla and spent the next hour just driving around Seattle, getting used to the controls, feeling the power, enjoying the silence, savoring the victory. Then I drove to my parents' house. It was Saturday afternoon, exactly 2 weeks after my mother had put me in that Uber in the rain. I pulled up in front of the house and parked in the driveway, right where my mother would see it from the kitchen window. I sat in the car for a moment, my heart pounding. This was it. The moment I'd been working toward. The moment of truth. I got out of the car and walked to the front door. I still had my key. I'd never given it back. I unlocked the door and walked inside. My mother was in the kitchen, exactly where I knew she'd be. She was loading the dishwasher, her back to me. She turned when she heard the door open. Her face went completely white when she saw me. "Dakota," she whispered. "Where have you been? We've been worried sick. We called you hundreds of times. We were about to file a missing person report." "I told you not to," I said calmly. "I told you I was fine." "Fine," Vanessa said, her voice rising to that familiar shrill pitch. "You disappeared for 2 weeks. You're 17 years old. You can't just run away like that. Do you have any idea how worried we've been?" "I didn't run away," I said. "You kicked me out. Remember? You put me in an Uber in the rain and told me to figure it out. So I did." Greg appeared in the doorway from the living room. "Dakota, we're just glad you're safe. Where have you been staying?" "We were so worried." "A hostel for the first week," I said. "Then a hotel." "A hotel," Vanessa said. "How did you pay for a hotel? Did you steal money from us?" I almost laughed at that. "No, Mom. I didn't steal anything. I earned it." "Earned it how?" Vanessa demanded. "The same way I earned this," I said, holding up my car keys. The Tesla logo was clearly visible on the key fob. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" "Car keys," I said. "To my Tesla. Want to see it? It's parked in the driveway." Vanessa and Greg rushed to the window. They stared at the pearl-white Tesla Model 3 sitting in the driveway, gleaming in the afternoon sun. "That's not yours," Vanessa said. "That can't be yours. You're lying." "It is mine," I said. "I leased it yesterday. $15,000 down payment. $450 per month. I'm covering all the payments myself." "Where did you get $15,000? Greg asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I earned it," I said. "Over the past 2 years. Doing the work you thought was a waste of time." "What work?" Vanessa demanded. "Graphic design, web design, branding, digital marketing, social media management," I said. "I've been running a freelance business for 2 years. I've completed over 270 projects. I've made over $24,000. 9,000 of that in the past 2 weeks alone, since you kicked me out." The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Vanessa and Greg stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Like I was a stranger they'd never met before. "That's impossible," Vanessa finally said. "You're 17. You don't have a business. You were just playing on the computer." "I wasn't playing," I said. "I was working. Building a portfolio. Finding clients. Creating designs. Making money. Real money. More money than you make, Mom." "You're lying," Vanessa said, but her voice was weak. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I turned the screen toward them, showing my account balance. $23,417. After the Tesla down payment, 2 weeks of expenses, and business investments. Vanessa's face went from white to red. Her hands started shaking. "You've been hiding this from us," she said. "For 2 years. You never asked," I said. "You never cared what I was doing. You never showed any interest in my life. You just assumed I was wasting time. But I was building something. I was building a future. And I did it completely without your help." "We're your parents," Greg said. "You should have told us. We could have helped you. We could have supported you." "Could you?" I said, looking him directly in the eyes. "Because when I tried to tell Mom I was working on a project, she called me lazy. When I tried to explain what I was doing, she said I was making excuses. You've never supported me. You've never believed in me. You've only ever torn me down." "That's not fair," Vanessa said. "Isn't it?" I said. You kicked me out in the rain with $20 because I didn't clean a kitchen that I'd already cleaned. You told me I was worthless. You told me I didn't contribute anything. You told me to prove I could take care of myself. Well, I did. I proved it. And now you're angry because I succeeded without you. Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs. Dakota, you're back. Hi, Ethan, I said, my voice softening. Yeah, I'm back. For a little while. Is that really your car? He asked, his eyes wide with amazement. It really is, I said. That's so cool, Ethan said. Can I sit in it? Maybe later, I said. Right now, I need to talk to Mom and Greg. Ethan nodded and disappeared back into his room. Smart kid. He knew when to make himself scarce. Vanessa found her voice again. Dakota, we need to talk about this. You can't just disappear for 2 weeks and then show up with a car and expect everything to be fine. I don't expect everything to be fine, I said. I don't expect anything from you at all. I came back to get my things. I'm moving out. Moving out. Vanessa said. You're 17. You can't move out. You're still a minor. Actually, I can, I said. I'm financially independent. I have income. I have savings. I can rent an apartment. And if you try to stop me, I'll file for emancipation. I've already consulted with a lawyer. I have grounds. Parental abandonment. Emotional abuse. I have documentation. Text messages. Witnesses. The Uber driver who took me to the mall is willing to testify about what he saw. That was partially a bluff. I'd researched emancipation online, but I hadn't actually consulted with a lawyer yet. But they didn't know that. And the threat was enough. Vanessa's face crumpled. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I've had to, I said. You taught me that I couldn't depend on you. So I learned to depend on myself. So that's it, Vanessa said, tears starting to form in her eyes. You're just going to leave? You're going to throw away your family? I'm not throwing away anything, I said. You threw me away 2 weeks ago. I'm just accepting it. I'm just moving forward. We want you to stay, Greg said. We want to work this out. We want to support you. Do you? I said. Or do you just want access to my money? Do you want to take credit for my success? Do you want to control what I've built? The look on their faces told me everything I needed to know. Vanessa looked away. Greg shifted uncomfortably. That's what I thought, I said. I walked past them and went upstairs to my room. It looked exactly the same as I'd left it 2 weeks ago. Bed unmade. Desk cluttered with sketches and notes. Walls covered with design inspiration. I started packing. Clothes. Books. Art supplies. My external hard drives with all my work files and backups. My camera. My drawing tablet. Everything that mattered to me. Everything that was mine. It took me an hour to pack everything into 3 large suitcases and 2 boxes. Vanessa stood in the doorway the entire time, watching me. Not helping. Just watching. Dakota, please, she finally said. Don't do this. Don't leave like this. Let's talk. Let's figure this out. There's nothing to figure out, I said, zipping up the last suitcase. You made your choice 2 weeks ago. Now I'm making mine. I made a mistake, Vanessa said, her voice breaking. I was angry. I wasn't thinking clearly. I didn't mean for you to actually leave. I thought you'd come back in a few hours and we'd talk and everything would be fine. You told me to prove I could take care of myself, I said. I did. And now you're upset because I actually can. Because you're not needed anymore. Because I don't need you. Every child needs their mother, Vanessa said. You're not a mother, I said. You're a woman who gave birth to me. But you've never been a mother. Mothers support their children. Mothers believe in their children. Mothers don't abandon their children in the rain with $20 and tell them to figure it out. I'm sorry, Vanessa said, tears streaming down her face now. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. About everything. You're not lazy. You're not worthless. You're incredible. What you've built is incredible. And I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I didn't believe in you. Please, please give me another chance. I looked at her for a long moment. Part of me wanted to forgive her. Part of me wanted to believe she meant it. Part of me wanted to stay. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not when the only reason she wanted me back was because I'd proven I was valuable. Not when she'd spent 17 years making me feel worthless. Maybe someday, I said. But not today. Not now. I need time. I need space. I need to figure out who I am without you telling me I'm not enough. How much time? Vanessa asked desperately. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe a few months. Maybe a year. Maybe longer. But right now I need to leave. I carried my suitcases downstairs. It took 3 trips. Greg offered to help on the second trip, but I refused. I loaded everything into the Tesla. The trunk. The back seat. Every available space. When I was done, I walked back to the door one last time. Vanessa and Greg were standing there, both of them looking lost and broken. Dakota, please, Vanessa said one more time. Please don't go. We love you. We want you here. If you loved me, you wouldn't have kicked me out, I said. If you wanted me here, you would have made me feel welcome. But you didn't. You made me feel like a burden. Like I was in the way. Like I didn't matter. And I'm done feeling that way. Where will you go? Greg asked. I'm looking at apartments tomorrow, I said. I have appointments to see 4 places. I'll find something. I'll be fine. You're 17, Vanessa said. You shouldn't have to do this alone. I've been alone my whole life, I said. Even when I was living here. This is just making it official. I got in my Tesla and started the engine. The dashboard lit up, silent and powerful. I looked at my parents one last time through the window. They looked smaller somehow. Older. Defeated. I backed out of the driveway and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I watched them standing in the doorway, watching me leave. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. For the first time in my life, I felt completely, utterly free. I spent that night in a nice hotel. The Kimpton Hotel in downtown Seattle. $195 per night. I didn't care. I'd earned it. I ordered room service. A burger and fries and a chocolate milkshake. $43. I didn't care about that either. I sat on the king-size bed, eating my burger, looking out at the Seattle skyline, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Pride. Pure, uncomplicated pride in myself. I'd done it. I'd proven I could take care of myself. I'd proven I was valuable. I'd proven my mother wrong about everything. The next day, I looked at apartments. 4 different places in Capitol Hill, a trendy neighborhood near downtown. The 4th place was perfect. A studio apartment in a modern building. 550 square feet. Big windows with lots of natural light. Updated kitchen. Clean bathroom. In-unit washer and dryer. The rent was $950 per month. Plus utilities. Plus parking. Total monthly cost. Around $1,200. I could afford it easily. I was making $15,000 to $20,000 per month now, and my client list was still growing. I filled out the application on the spot. The landlord, a woman in her 50s named Patricia, reviewed my application with a skeptical expression. You're 17, she said. Yes, I said. And you're self-employed, she said. Yes, I said. I run a design business. Here are my income statements for the past 6 months. Here are my bank statements. Here's a letter from my accountant verifying my income. Here are references from 5 of my clients. Patricia reviewed everything carefully. Her skepticism slowly turned to surprise, then to respect. This is impressive, she said. Very impressive. Most 17-year-olds can't even hold down a part-time job at McDonald's. You're running a legitimate business. Thank you, I said. I'll need a co-signer since you're a minor, Patricia said. Do you have a parent or guardian who can co-sign? No, I said. But I can pay 6 months rent up front. Cash. Today. That's $5,700. Plus first and last month's rent and security deposit. That's $11,400 total. I can transfer it to your account right now. Patricia's eyebrows shot up. You have $11,000 in cash? I have $23,000 in my business account, I said. I can show you. I pulled out my phone and showed her my bank balance. Patricia stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she smiled. You know what? I don't need a co-signer. Anyone who can save $23,000 at 17 and run a successful business is responsible enough to rent an apartment. When do you want to move in? Today, I said. Today it is, Patricia said. I transferred the money, signed the lease, got the keys. And just like that, I had my own apartment, my own space, my own home. I moved in that afternoon. My 3 suitcases and 2 boxes looked tiny in the empty apartment. I didn't have furniture yet. No bed, no couch, no table, no chairs. But I didn't care. I ordered an air mattress from Amazon with same-day delivery. I ordered basic furniture from IKEA with next-day delivery. I ordered kitchen supplies, bathroom supplies, cleaning supplies. Everything I needed to start my new life. That night, I slept on the air mattress in my empty apartment. The city lights filtered through the windows. The sounds of Capitol Hill drifted up from the street below. And I felt something I'd never felt before in my entire life. Peace. Complete, absolute peace. Over the next 3 months, my business exploded. The Facebook and Instagram ads continued to bring in a steady stream of clients. My 5-star reviews attracted more attention. Word-of-mouth referrals multiplied. I was featured in a Seattle Times article about young entrepreneurs. That article brought in dozens of new inquiries. I was invited to speak at a local business networking event. That led to more clients and more opportunities. Within 3 months, I was consistently making $25,000 per month. Within 6 months, I was making $35,000. I hired a virtual assistant to help with administrative tasks, scheduling, and client communication. I hired a junior designer to help with overflow work. I raised my prices significantly. I became more selective about the projects I accepted, only taking on work that excited me and challenged me. I was 17, then 18 years old, and I was running a legitimate 6-figure business. I furnished my apartment. A real bed. A comfortable couch. A desk for my workspace. Art on the walls. Plants in the windows. I made it feel like home. My home. I bought new clothes. Not expensive designer stuff, but quality pieces that made me feel confident and professional. I invested in better equipment. A new MacBook Pro. A professional camera. A high-end drawing tablet. Tools that would help me do better work. But I also saved. I invested. I opened a Roth IRA and maxed out my contributions. I put money into index funds. I built an emergency fund with 6 months of expenses. I was building wealth. Real, lasting wealth. Not just income but assets. My parents tried to contact me multiple times during those first few months. Vanessa sent long emails. Apologizing. Explaining. Begging. Asking me to come home. Asking me to forgive her. Asking me to give her another chance. Greg sent shorter messages. Saying they missed me. saying they were proud of me, saying they wanted to be part of my life. Ethan sent me texts regularly, asking how I was doing, telling me about school and soccer, asking if we could hang out. I responded to Ethan. We met for lunch once a month at a diner near his school. He was 14 now, growing up fast. He told me he was proud of me. He told me I was his hero. He told me he wanted to start his own business someday, just like me. That meant more to me than anything my parents could say. But I didn't respond to Vanessa or Greg. Not for 3 months. I needed that time. Time to heal. Time to figure out who I was without them. Time to build my confidence and my independence. Time to prove to myself that I could do this. 3 months after I moved out, Vanessa showed up at my apartment. I don't know how she got my address. Maybe she followed me. Maybe she hired someone to find me. Maybe she asked Ethan and he told her. But there she was, standing outside my door on a Saturday morning, looking older and more tired than I remembered. "Dakota, please," she said when I opened the door. "Please let me in. We need to talk." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. Part of me wanted to tell her to leave and never come back. But another part of me, a part one didn't want to acknowledge, wanted to hear what she had to say. 5 minutes, I said. "That's all you get." I let her into my apartment. She looked around, taking in the furniture, the art, the plants, the professional workspace I'd set up in the corner. "This is beautiful," she said softly. "You've built a real life here." "I have," I said. "What do you want, Mom?" "I want to apologize," Vanessa said, turning to face me. "Really apologize. Not just say I'm sorry, but explain why I did what I did and how I'm trying to change." "Okay," I said, crossing my arms. "I'm listening." Vanessa took a deep breath. "I was jealous of you. I've been jealous of you for years. You're so smart, so capable, so independent. Everything I'm not. Everything I wish I was. And instead of being proud of you, instead of supporting you, I resented you. I tried to tear you down because it made me feel better about my own failures." "Why?" I asked. "Because I'm a failure," Vanessa said, her voice breaking. "I'm 43 years old. I work an administrative job that I hate, making $40,000 a year. I have no savings. No retirement. No prospects. I married Greg because I was lonely, not because I loved him. I've accomplished nothing with my life. And then there's you. 17 years old and already more successful than I'll ever be. It killed me. It absolutely killed me. So I tried to convince myself that what you were doing wasn't real. That it wasn't valuable. That you were wasting your time. Because if I admitted that you were successful, I'd have to admit that I was a failure." I didn't say anything. I just listened. "When I kicked you out, I thought I was teaching you a lesson," Vanessa continued. "I thought you'd come back in a few hours, humiliated and apologetic, and I'd feel powerful again. I'd feel like I was in control. But you didn't come back. And when you did come back, you were driving a Tesla. You'd made more money in 2 weeks than I make in 3 months. And I realized that I'd lost you. That I'd thrown away the most incredible person in my life because I was too insecure to celebrate her success." Tears were streaming down Vanessa's face now. "I've been in therapy for the past 2 months," she said. "Twice a week. Working through my issues. My childhood trauma. My insecurities. My jealousy. My need for control. I'm trying to become a better person. Not for you. For me. Because I can't keep living like this. I can't keep hurting the people I love because I hate myself." "That's good," I said quietly. "I'm glad you're getting help." "I don't expect you to forgive me," Vanessa said. "I don't expect you to let me back into your life. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. You were never the problem. You were always enough. More than enough. The problem was always me. And I'm so sorry it took losing you for me to realize that. We stood there in silence for a long moment. I'm not ready to have a full relationship with you yet, I finally said. I'm not ready to trust you. You hurt me too much. For too long. I understand, Vanessa said, wiping her eyes. But maybe we can start small, I said. Coffee once a month. Just talking. No expectations. No pressure. No asking me for money or trying to take credit for my success. Just two people trying to understand each other. I would love that, Vanessa said, her face lighting up with hope. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. I'm not doing it for you, I said honestly. I'm doing it for me. Because I need to know if we can have a healthy relationship. And if we can't, I need to be able to walk away without guilt. That's fair, Vanessa said. That's more than fair. We met for coffee the following week. It was awkward at first. We didn't know what to say to each other. We'd spent so many years in a toxic dynamic that we didn't know how to interact in a healthy way. But slowly, carefully, we started talking. Really talking. Vanessa told me more about her therapy. About the things she was learning about herself. About her own childhood with critical, controlling parents. About how she'd never learned healthy ways to express love or pride. About how she'd repeated the same patterns that had hurt her. I'm not making excuses, she said. I'm just trying to help you understand. It was never about you. You were always incredible. The problem was always me. I appreciate you saying that, I said. But it doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't erase the years of feeling worthless. Of feeling like I was never good enough. I know, Vanessa said. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that. If you'll let me. We'll see, I said. Over the next year, we met for coffee once or twice a month. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt our relationship. It wasn't the same as before. It couldn't be. Too much had happened. Too much damage had been done. But it was something new. Something healthier. Something based on mutual respect rather than control and resentment. Vanessa never asked me for money. Never tried to take credit for my success. Never tried to control my decisions. She just listened. Supported. Apologized when she messed up. And slowly, gradually, I started to forgive her. Not because she deserved it. But because I deserved peace. Because holding on to anger and resentment was exhausting. Because I wanted to move forward, not stay stuck in the past. Greg and I never rebuilt our relationship. He'd had his chance to stand up for me, to protect me, to be a real father figure. And he'd failed. He'd chosen the easy path, siding with Vanessa, staying silent when I needed someone to speak up. I was cordial when I saw him at family events, but nothing more. Ethan and I stayed close. He was in high school now, a sophomore, still playing soccer. He told me regularly that I was his inspiration. That I'd shown him what was possible. That he wanted to be an entrepreneur like me. That made me prouder than any business success ever could. When I turned 19, I did something I'd been planning for months. I hired a professional videographer and created a documentary about my story. About being kicked out at 17. About building a business in 2 weeks. About going back home in a Tesla. About choosing independence over a toxic family. About rebuilding a relationship with my mother on my own terms. I posted it on YouTube with the title, My Mom Kicked Me Out at 17. 2 weeks later, I came back in a Tesla. Within a week, it had 1 million views. Within a month, it had 10 million. Within 3 months, it had 25 million. The comments were overwhelming. Thousands of people sharing their own stories of family rejection. Thousands of people saying I'd inspired them to pursue their dreams. Thousands of people thanking me for showing them that they could survive and thrive after abandonment. The video caught the attention of a literary agent in New York. She reached out asking if I'd be interested in writing a book about my experience. A full memoir. My story from childhood through building my business through rebuilding my relationship with my mother. I said yes. I spent 8 months writing my story. Every detail. Every emotion. Every lesson I'd learned. Every mistake I'd made. Every victory I'd celebrated. The book was published when I was 20. It was called $20 and a Tesla, How Being Abandoned Taught Me My Worth. It became a New York Times bestseller within 2 weeks. Suddenly, I wasn't just a successful designer and business owner. I was an author, a speaker, an influencer, someone whose story resonated with millions of people. I was invited to speak at conferences, universities, and corporate events, to share my story, to inspire young entrepreneurs, to talk about resilience and self-worth and building success from nothing. Vanessa read the book. She sent me a long email afterward. Dakota, I just finished your book. I read every single word. And I'm so incredibly proud of you. But I'm also heartbroken. Heartbroken that I caused you so much pain. Heartbroken that I'm the villain in your story. Heartbroken that it took losing you for me to realize how special you are. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I don't deserve to be in your life. But I want you to know that I've changed. I'm still in therapy. I'm still working on myself. I'm still trying to become the mother you deserved from the beginning. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry. I'll always be sorry. Mom. I read the email 3 times. Then I called her. Hi, Mom, I said when she answered. Dakota, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you for calling. I read your email, I said. And I want you to know something. You're not the villain in my story. You're a flawed person who made terrible mistakes. But you're also someone who's trying to change. Someone who's doing the hard work of becoming better. And that matters. Thank you, Vanessa whispered. I forgive you, I said. Not because you deserve it. But because I deserve peace. And I can't have peace while I'm holding on to anger. Vanessa started crying. Thank you. Thank you so much. But I need you to understand something, I said. Our relationship will never be what it could have been. You can't get back the years you lost. You can't undo the damage you did. But we can build something new. Something healthier. If you're willing to keep doing the work. I am, Vanessa said. I promise I am. Then let's keep going, I said. One coffee at a time. Today, I'm 22 years old. My design agency, DK Creative Studio, has grown to a team of 15 people. We work with clients all over the world, from startups to Fortune 500 companies. We've won multiple industry awards. We've been featured in major publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Fast Company. I've written 2 more books. One about building a business as a teenager. One about healing from family trauma. Both became bestsellers. I speak at conferences and events regularly, sharing my story and inspiring others. I've been invited to the White House, to TED, to major universities. I have a beautiful apartment that I love. A Tesla that I earned. A business that I built from nothing. Investments that are growing. A future that's bright and full of possibilities. And I have a relationship with my mother that, while imperfect and complicated, is real and honest and healing. We have coffee twice a month now. Sometimes more. We talk about real things. Therapy. Growth. Mistakes. Forgiveness. We're not best friends. We probably never will be. But we're something. We're mother and daughter, trying to figure out how to love each other in a healthy way. People ask me all the time if I regret what happened. If I wish my mother had never kicked me out. If I wish I'd had a supportive family from the beginning. And the answer is complicated. Of course I wish I'd had a loving, supportive family. Of course I wish I'd never experienced that pain, that rejection, that abandonment. Of course I wish I'd felt valued and celebrated instead of worthless and dismissed. But would I be where I am today without that experience? Probably not. Being abandoned forced me to become independent. It forced me to prove my worth, not to my parents, but to myself. It forced me to build something real and lasting. It forced me to discover strengths I didn't know I had. So no, I don't regret it. I wouldn't choose it again. I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. But I don't regret it. Because that moment, sitting in that Uber in the rain with $20 and a broken heart, was the moment I decided to become someone who couldn't be dismissed. Someone who couldn't be ignored. Someone who mattered. My mother told the Uber driver to drop me at the mall when I was 17. She thought she was teaching me a lesson about respect and gratitude. But the lesson I learned was completely different. I learned that I didn't need her approval to be successful. I didn't need her validation to be valuable. I didn't need her love to be worthy of love. I was all of those things already. I just needed to believe it. 2 weeks later, I came back rich. Not just financially, though that was part of it. But rich in confidence. Rich in purpose. Rich in self-worth. Rich in the knowledge that I could take care of myself. And when they begged me to stay, when they pleaded with me to give them another chance, I said no. Because I'd learned the most important lesson of all. The only person who can determine your worth is you. And I was worth everything. I still am. And so are you. If you're reading this, if you're in a situation where someone is making you feel worthless, please know this. They're wrong. You have value. You have worth. You have potential. You just need to believe it. And once you believe it, once you truly know your worth, nothing can stop you. Not rejection. Not abandonment. Not cruelty. Nothing. Because your worth doesn't come from other people. It comes from you. And no one can take that away. No one. My name is Dakota Chin. I was 17 years old when my mother abandoned me with $20. 2 weeks later, I came back in a Tesla. And I've been driving forward ever since.